Yeah.
Yes.
There's been a lot of. Yeah.
Well, happy Friday, everybody. Thank you for spending your afternoon with us. Welcome to the Chamber Small Business Solutions Hub program, our first one of the year, January 2026. I'm Paige Walters. I'm the Senior Director of Advocacy and Economic Development at the Springfield Area Chamber of Commerce. And really pleased to introduce this program today. This is our Small Business Solutions Hub, which is a program series and combined with the digital hub that's online. It's really geared towards our business retention and expansion efforts at the Chamber. We're here to connect you with resources that can help protect, grow, sustain your business. So these programs really bring top of mind educational topics to local business community, you guys all here in the room, and they address a wide range of topics. We've talked about everything from HR law to marketing. And today we're really excited to talk about a serious topic around cybersecurity. In today's increasingly digital business environment, cyber threats really are one of the most significant risks that small businesses face, from phishing and data breaches to vulnerabilities in everyday systems. It's not just an IT issue. It's central to protecting your operations, your customers, and your hard-earned reputation. And we're really grateful to have a couple of experts here in the room joining us today to talk about this issue from their perspective. We're joined by Nicole Nelson, who's the Southern Oregon Regional President for WaFd Bank, and she's going to talk about intentional banking practices that help safeguard your business finances. And following Nicole, we have Marques Salazar as a Senior IT Systems Engineer at IEQ Technology. He's going to share strategies that you can apply right now to strengthen your cybersecurity posture and reduce your risk. I would be remiss if I did not spend a couple of minutes here thanking our Small Business Solutions Hub sponsors. This program is put on free to our members and our small business community here in Springfield, the Eugene area, because of our impact investors and our Small Business Solutions Hub sponsors. And those sponsors, you'll find them on the Digital Hub webpage. They include Ask Eric Computer Services, Chambers Construction, Eugene Area Radio Stations, Kirshner Hunter Attorneys, Insights Research Labs, just market research, and they're at University of Oregon, Oregon Community Credit Union, WaFd Bank, and Springfield Utility Board, Tracy. And big thank you also to today's program sponsor, IEQ Technology, for helping us put the lunch together. Thank you, Jen. All right, so first up, please help me welcome Nicole Nelson. As I said, Nicole serves as the Southern Oregon Region President of WaFd Bank. She's devoted her 20-year career to commercial banking and serving clients throughout Oregon. She's well-versed in various types of commercial lending, and she has expertise in commercial real estate, construction, and operating lines of credit and equipment finance. Nicole, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Nicole.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you all for being here. It looks like a beautiful Friday afternoon, and you chose to learn about cybersecurity. So maybe we have poor decision makers in this room already. And a special thank you to the Chamber for putting on the Small Business Solutions Hub. One of the things I appreciate about this is that it is a free program to the members. We have a wonderful lunch from IEQ, and WaFd is extremely proud of being a sponsor. I think we've been a sponsor for 3 years. I probably should have checked that out before I got up here. Real quick, you told me to be patient, and okay, all right. She said be patient, and I literally just clicked twice, even though she said, I want to introduce you real quick to our local WaFd team. A couple of them are with us today. So we have Kenny Ryder, who is our business banking relationship manager, and Jeannie Sterry, who is our treasury relationship manager. Tyler Holden was hoping to be here, but he is keeping the branch running. So he frequents Springfield Chamber events, so you probably see him around. Okay, agenda today, I'm a banker, I am not a tech person. So please keep that in mind. Marques will share more of the technical side of cybersecurity. With cybersecurity, one of the things I want to focus on why banking is so important is because this is a profitable industry for the bad actors. Not to get too biblical, but money's the root of all evil, right? And so this is our agenda today. If it wasn't profitable, the bad guys would not target your banking. So, couple fraudulent scams. Hopefully you have heard of business email compromise and phishing. They've been around for a while, but essentially the fraudsters have found it very challenging to access the banking system and get those big dollars. So they are going after the human side of things and the individuals, and that's where these scams come into place. So business email compromise, a lot of times it's an email from someone like the CEO or the CFO, and they're asking for a transfer of funds, for example. My husband's in real estate. We see this in our real estate financing where, there's updated wire instructions for the title company, for example. Those types of things are business email compromise. Phishing is where they're looking for information. So you receive an email, and phishing is kind of like casting a wide net to a large group of folks. Hopefully those emails are a little bit easier to recognize because you weren't expecting it. It's not related to a project you're working on. You don't know the sender.
Will those immediately go into your junk mail, maybe?
Marques can answer that question. At the bank, some of them do because we have really strong controls over that, but you absolutely cannot rely on your junk settings to protect you. Yeah. Spear phishing is a little bit more challenging to identify because they typically know something about you. Like they know you work in the accounts payable department at your company, or they know you are the president of your company. And sometimes they even, might have already gotten access to some of your systems, and they're very challenging to detect. So that is spear phishing. All right, are you clicking or is it me?
No, that was you.
Yay! Okay. I'm trying to be patient. So I feel like some of these are like the newer scams out there. Again, Marques might correct me, but I feel like you gotta love AI. So spoofing is when they kind of cover up a phone number. So if you guys get telemarketing calls and it looks like it's a local number, but it's not, they're calling from the East Coast or wherever, that is spoofing, where they're covering up the number. So you can't really tell who is calling you. And they can even copy numbers like, for example, your bank's phone number. So you have to be careful about that. I have antivirus on my cell phone, and I have it's called a Avast number check, I believe. And so it actually tells me the details of who that number is registered to, or who the actual caller number is registered to. I found it really interesting, especially with the all the telemarketing calls that I tend to get. Something really important to remember about bank impersonation is your bank's fraud department or IT department will never, ever, 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 ever call you.
Will they call you?
They will never, ever, ever, how many evers I said, but they will not call you. They don't call you. So if you receive a call from your bank's fraud or IT department, they've got a couple goals. Their first goal is to get your login information. Your bank doesn't need to know your username because they know that. So if somebody asks you for your username, do not give it to them. Certainly don't give them your password. But one of the tricks they're using in bank impersonation is they will call you, tell you there's a problem with a payment or your online banking or your access or whatever your problem is. And then they will say, all right, I'm going to send you, they'll get you to tell them the username. I'm going to send you a code real quick. That is them resetting your password.
Oh my God.
And you chose to be here on a sunny Friday. Okay, their next objective is to immediately change your contact information. So the systems the bank has put into place to notify you of transactions or changes to your account, all of that stuff goes to them. So at WaFd Bank, if you are a commercial client and you would like to change your email address, you cannot do it online. You have to talk to one of us because the bad guys try to change your contact information. So that's one of the things they're looking for. Client impersonation. I'm gonna run out of time here. Client impersonation, customers come into the bank to open accounts or withdraw money. They have fake IDs. With technology today, it's so easy to make a fake ID. Just one slide on how to identify a scam. There's haste. They hover over the email address. It's might not be as it appears. That's a really good way to notify or notice if it's a scam. They're looking for something, right? And then hopefully everybody in this room knows, because this is kind of like an older scam, but nobody will overpay you. They will send you, if they're legitimate, they'll send you the exact amount of money that is needed. Okay. How the banking industry is protecting clients. And I just kind of know surface level stuff on this because I'm not on the tech side of the bank, but pretty much every day our bankers on my team are getting notifications to confirm transactions for clients. So if you do get a call from a local banker that you know, please answer. They're trying to protect your accounts and the money. We put a ton of money into our systems and the behavioral analytics to try and flag these types of things and protect our customers. With voice recognition, so not all banks have this, but it's like a biometric. So WaFd, we actually own a fintech called Pike Street Labs, and we partnered with Amazon Web Services to establish the voice recognition. I know most of you are saying, well, I've heard AI online impersonate people's voices, but there's two other things for this voice activated banking that need to take place. One, it has to come from your actual cell phone number that's registered, obviously not a spoofed number, and it has to come from your specific device that's registered. So they have to have your device and your voice. So it's actually very secure. Multi-factor authentication, hopefully everybody's used to this. This is where you get a text message with like a 6-digit code or an alert on your app, that type of thing. So lots of investment going in there. Our bankers, I don't know, it's about 75 fake phishing emails a year. If somebody fails, I get a notification too, so I can have a talk with them. But we are testing our team members, and this is not unique to WaFd Bank. This is kind of industry standard, to make sure that that human component of even our team members cannot be compromised. The American Bankers Association, this is just one of the platforms that I'm aware of, has a system where all of the banks report in active real-time fraudulent activity and scams that are happening to share this information and stop them as quickly as possible. And then most banks have some sort of tools on their website. So two of the tools on our website are the scam checker and the password testing tool that you can check out. Okay, so actions to protect yourself. The very first one that I think you should do as soon as you leave, because all banks have it, it's super easy, it'll take you 5 minutes, is account alerts. So you just log into your online banking and you choose what alerts are important to you. About a month ago, I woke up on a Sunday morning and I had a text from WaFd, and it came in at 5 a.m. and it said a user in your online banking has been locked out. And I actually thought it was my husband's bookkeeper. So when I got out of bed, I tried to log in real quick and it was me. And so I called to find out what happened, and the bank had locked down all of my online banking because someone on the East Coast, using an old cell phone, it was like I don't know, Galaxy 8 or something, had tried to log into my online banking, and I found out about it because of the account alerts. You can also find out about odd transactions. So you can set transaction thresholds, you can set balance thresholds, you can set user change thresholds, all of that. It's free and it takes like 5 minutes to do. Dual control, dual administration. Dual control is when you're sending money outside of the bank. It can require 2 people. So if the fraudsters get, kind of fool one of you, hopefully they don't fool both of you. And dual administration goes into the part where they're trying to access your online banking. So if you're going to add a user or change authority levels for sending wires or things like that, the dual administration, again, requires 2 people. For most banks, that's the default, and you have to agree to not have dual administration. Having a relationship with your banker, a local person that you know, is extremely important because they understand your organization and can help you through any of these challenges that you have. Keeping your contact information up to date with the bank. So when we pull up a client's account, there's an image of their driver's license right there for us to see. The bank doesn't know, for example, I got a real ID. My ID wasn't expiring. So I went to the branch and said, here's my new ID. Because if somebody comes in to impersonate me, I want them to see my new updated ID information. So make sure that your phone numbers, email addresses, and your ID information is correct at the bank. Have the MFA, establish check positive pay or ACH positive pay, or I guess I should say both. So I have 2024 statistics. Checks are 9% of overall banking transactions, but they account for 66% of fraud. So if you think, oh, I don't write a lot of checks, yeah, you probably don't. But having check positive pay is extremely important for protecting your accounts. Okay, actions you can take to protect yourself. So those were kind of banking specific items you can do, but just overall for your total protection, have some credit monitoring. I've got credit monitoring, and when I got a new credit card, within minutes I had a notification that my credit was accessed. So it's important to keep on top of that. Cyber insurance. Not all cyber insurance is the same. Most companies think they're protected with the liability rider or the cyber rider that's on their liability insurance. There's a lot of exclusions in that. So especially the larger your organization, the more likely it is that you could be subject to an attack. Marques is going to talk a little bit about ransomware, but I will pause. On the back table, I have a ransomware playbook that helps you go through some of your systems. And then also come up with a plan if your systems are compromised. And I believe Marianne will email that out after as well, because it's kind of a large document. With insurance, real cyber insurance, they will actually run scans of your systems. And if you don't have a service provider like IAQ, you may be even required to have them or hire them to help out with some things to even qualify for cyber insurance. That's how big of a deal this is. A couple other things is don't plug your phone into charging stations directly with the USB. Don't use public Wi-Fi. Keep all your softwares up to date, and use a VPN and antivirus. If somebody calls you from the bank, maybe it's even the person you know, it's totally fine to say, I'm gonna call you back. Call from a known number, and absolutely do not call from the number in the email signature. Okay, or do not call the number in the email signature, right? With spoofing, don't rely on caller ID. Hover over the email addresses. That's one of the best ways to determine if an email is legitimate. And then watch your passwords. Use a password manager. These are steps according to Nicole, so somebody else might have different steps, but change your password, okay? If you become a victim of fraud, I always think the banking is most important. Might be a little biased on that, but call your banker, and the banks can just lock everything down. Yes, it's an inconvenience, but it's a lot better than losing your money. So we will lock everything down, get you new accounts, get everything set up. A day or two, you're rocking and rolling again. And then if you are a victim of fraud, we need to report that. The more data that we have, the better we are at being able to stop that. But as I was going to the FTC website planning this, I saw this little blurb on their screen that said, you guys can't read it. It says the FTC will never threaten you, say you must transfer your money to protect it, or tell you to withdraw cash or buy gold to give it to someone. That is a scam. So I just thought that was I had to take a snip of that. Okay, I hit my 20 minutes. I'm at 22 minutes, I think. So
We got time for a couple questions.
we got time for a couple questions. Yes,
And about the check writing,
yes.
is it because people are stealing the checks? How is it? I'm just wondering, I have to write checks, I don't have a way around it, and some of them I have to mail. But is it because they're being intercepted in the mail, or how is it that the checks are being?
There's a million different ways. I seem to recall a situation where it was an accounts receivable, a person in accounts receivable that was receiving the checks. And so they were processing the checks like normal, but they were taking copies of them and then, print it. It used to be you couldn't get the Micker ink, right? And so it was really hard to duplicate checks. And now it's easy, especially with mobile deposit. So literally any person that you hand a check to has all the information they need to commit that fraud. So it can happen so many different ways. Yes, it used to be, oh, make sure your mailbox is locked because people come steal your mail, but that's not going to protect you either. Yeah. Or always make sure you put it in one of the blue mailboxes, or give it directly to the post office. It'll protect you if it doesn't. So you really should look, talk to your banker about ways to reduce check writing. Again, it's 60% of all fraud losses, but only 9% of payment volume. Yeah.
So on that same line, I have a small company And I looked into both of those options, the check and the ACH, and it was very, very expensive for a
Yep.
small company.
It can be. Yes,
I mean, it seems like it's protecting the banks also, so
It does.
why doesn't it, why isn't it more reasonable?
well, the hard truth of this is the bank does not have to cover any fraud losses for you. Your account agreement, that is your issue. The bank, sometimes they do, especially if there's a mistake on their behalf. And I used to kind of operate under the first one's on us, next one's on you. But it all kind of depends. Ultimately, fraud losses are on you because we're not controlling how your account information gets out there, right? There are other services. So like I know our bank has a less expensive service called check validation, where you write the checks and then every morning you click yes, pay that one, yes, pay that one, no, don't pay that one. But you have to do it before like 10 a.m. and it's a little bit more labor intensive. So if you're writing a lot of checks, it is not a good fit. The positive pay is where you upload your check information to the bank. And then if there's a mismatch, the bank notifies you. But if everything matches, the check number, the date, who it's payable to, then it just sails through. So it's less labor intensive on your part, but check validation is relatively inexpensive. But yes, it is a challenge. The other thing is, sometimes you have two accounts, like keep your money in one and then transfer over and write your checks from another account. I mean, most banks have like a free business checking. And so that's one thing that you can do to limit your exposure. Obviously, you need to keep enough money in the one account to cover your checks, right? But you can kind of limit what they would have access to if you had a breach. We often suggest that with wires, like if you receive wires or you receive ACH, any account that you're giving your account number out, you have a separate account there, and then a wire comes in and you just transfer it over.
Nicole, how does that work?
What do you mean?
With what you're discussing about having multiple accounts,
You just, I mean, it's on you to transfer the funds,
right?
right? But that way you have your operating account
Right.
and say you've got, $100,000 in your operating account and, okay, we'll say 50,000, but your operating account and somebody says, Patrick, I want to pay you via wire.
Okay.
You have a wire account that you leave at a zero balance or $100 balance, a nominal amount of money. You give them that account information. They send the money there,
Okay.
and then you
Then
transfer it.
automatically transfer the
Then you transfer it to your operating account. So your wire account never really has a lot of money in it.
Yeah, that's me.
Because that's the one that you're giving your account number out to lots of folks.
Okay.
I mean, you technically can do that with check writing. Again, it's a little bit more labor intensive, but if there is fraud, you're kind of protecting yourself. If you sweep back and forth, it doesn't really protect you because the sweep will. So you have to, it's manual. I mean, it's a manual workaround that's not very convenient. All right, we're good. Well, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Marques Salazar. Marques is a seasoned IT professional with over 25 years of experience, delivering enterprise level solutions across government, technology, banking, healthcare, and automotive sectors. Throughout his career, he's demonstrated exceptional versatility in managing complex IT infrastructures, leading strategic initiatives, and implementing innovative solutions that drive measurable business outcomes. Marques, welcome.
Move this just a bit here.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for having me. I want to thank the Springfield Chamber of Commerce and Marianne especially for inviting me today. My name is Marques Salazar. I'm a senior IT systems engineer at IAQ Technology. And again, thank you for inviting me today. I think this is a great opportunity to meet other business owners and relay some information I think will be really helpful for you guys. Like she said, I've been fortunate enough to have opportunities to work in government. I was a Marine. I did IT in the Marine Corps. I've been in telecom, tech, healthcare, and most recently the auto industry. And what I can tell you about those sectors is they have one thing in common, and that is the need for cybersecurity. Like she said, it's a growing every day, and even small business owners need to take advantage of the information that's out there to help you guys defend yourselves from these bad actors that she called them. I'm probably going to say bad actors a lot. It's kind of the term they use, bad guys, the criminals, right? Yeah. So cybersecurity is now a core business issue for small businesses. This will be more practical than technical, but there will be some technical jargon in there. If you have questions about like an acronym or something, please just raise your hand and ask real quick, and I'll tell you what the acronym means. It'll be more practical and technical, but we'll touch on some technologies used for defense against bad actors. Let's see.
Where are you located?
We are located on Harlow Road. On the third floor, kind of over by Gateway.
Oh, I think you're pressing the wrong button.
Down, up.
Oh. Let me bring it back up, bro.
Sorry, this thing was upside down. My apologies. First. All right, why cybersecurity matters. So it protects what's valuable, right? Our data, whether it's your personal photos or your financial information, like Nicole was talking about, your medical records, business secrets, proprietary information that maybe your company created something and that's proprietary. That's important stuff because you own that, you created it. Or intellectual property, like what I just said. Nearly everything of value now exists in digital form. Cybersecurity is what keeps that information private, intact, and accessible only to those people who should have it. It keeps essential services running, it prevents financial devastation, and it maintains trust in the digital economy, right? So cybercrime is a business issue, not just IT issue. Downtime and data loss are super costly, and trust and your reputation are at stake, right? So, as far as like ransomware, like say you get hit with ransomware and they $50,000 they want you to pay. That might sound like a lot, but if your company's bringing in $50,000 a day and your data's encrypted for a week, 350 grand right there, right? So it's very, very costly. Cyber incidents impact revenue, operations, and reputation, or worse, can shut you down permanently. Even a short downtime can be very expensive. All right, what is cybersecurity? Protecting your systems, protecting your operations, and focusing on reducing risk. Cybersecurity is the practice of protecting your computers, your networks, your data, and your digital systems from unauthorized access, attacks, damage, or theft. It's both technical and human, right? So that's where you guys all come in, the human part of things, not just the technical side. As business owners, it's up to you guys to keep your systems protected and keep your employees trained. It encompasses a wide range of protective measures, things like firewalls that block unauthorized access, antivirus software that detects malicious programs, encryption that scrambles data, so only authorized people can read it, and authentication systems that verify you are who you say you are, like passwords or fingerprint scanners, and security policies that govern how people handle sensitive information. So cybersecurity protects your data, your systems, and your daily operations. The goal is to reduce risk. The goal is risk reduction, not perfection. Nobody's gonna be perfect, but just being here, that you guys are all here today, is a great start to becoming more secure. Every business has risk, and we want to try and manage that risk to the best that we can. And like I said, being here and getting the information is a really good start. So why small businesses get targeted? They have limited defenses often, maybe not as much dollar amounts to put into these type of defense systems, high trust environments, and automated attacks. So small businesses still hold valuable data. I would think you guys would think your data is valuable, right? It's not just the giants like Microsoft or Apple that are getting hacked. They often have fewer security controls with small businesses. Attackers prefer easy, scalable targets. So why are businesses like yours seen as easy targets? Small businesses typically lack the sophisticated security infrastructure of the larger corporations. They might not have a dedicated IT staff. If they do, they might not have a dedicated security person on that staff. They might not have enterprise-grade firewalls or comprehensive monitoring systems, and that's okay. Attackers know this and view them as low-hanging fruit, where basic attackers are more likely to succeed. And despite your size, you hold valuable data. Small businesses still process customer payment information, store personal data, maintain employee records, and hold proprietary business information. This data is just as valuable on the black market as data from larger corporations, but it's often easier to steal. So companies like the ones that are represented here, they're basically gateways to bigger companies sometimes, right? Bigger targets. Many small businesses work with larger corporations. You might have a huge vendor that you use for payroll or CRM, for customers, right? They work with large corporations like vendors, suppliers, or service providers. Attackers use them as stepping stones. They compromise the small business with weaker security, and then they use that access to breach the larger systems. It's called a supply chain attack. Approach has become increasingly common. So the 4 biggest cyber threats, here they are. Nicole touched on phishing and email scams. We'll get into that bit. Ransomware will go over, account takeover, and vendor and technology risks. And when I say vendor and technology risks, those are all, all the software vendors that you guys have to run your businesses. All right. So first we'll go over phishing and email scams. So email is the #1 attack vector. 90% of cybersecurity crimes start with phishing. If you can stop phishing in your company, you'll be greatly you'll have a lot better defense against these guys. So phishing and email scams are deceptive tactics where attackers impersonate legitimate organizations or people to trick you into revealing sensitive information, clicking malicious links in an email, or sending money. They often do so with fake login pages, right? How often have you gotten an email and there's a hyperlink? The hyperlink is just a word that's underlined and it says login portal. You click that login portal, it takes you to a site that looks just like your bank. It's not your bank. What you can do is you can hover over those hyperlinks, like Nicole said. When you hover over the hyperlink down the bottom left of your screen, it'll tell you where that link, where the target is, where the URL is going to go to the website. Super important to hover over links in email. The fake login pages we talked about. One way to notice phishing is a lot of times there'll be spelling errors. I don't know if you guys have seen that. There'll be spelling errors in there. And like she said with spoofing, you want to hover over who the email is from. It might say, your president's name at yourcompany.com, but if you hover over it, it might be something completely different. So be mindful, spear phishing, personalized attack on smaller businesses like Nicole talked about. When there's ever urgency or financial pressure, like Nicole was talking about also, those are red flags, right? No one's ever going to give you a time frame to do something. So be skeptical of the urgency, verify unexpected email, and check the email address, not just the display name that you're seeing up there. Ransomware. You guys have probably heard about this. I was in the auto industry right before this for a couple of years, and one of the major players got ransomware. We did not use them, fortunately enough, but they were down for weeks, cost tens of millions. I think there were 30,000 rooftop dealerships across the US that were hit. So luckily, we didn't have to deal with that, but it is a major issue. So what ransomware does is it locks your systems down and it encrypts the data. So even if you have access to the data, it's encrypted. It just looks like, gobbledygook, right? You can't tell. Even the file names are encrypted. I've seen it before. And so phishing begins that lockdown. Again, 90% starts through phishing, through email. So there's no guarantee of your data being returned or unencrypted ever. It might just be the end of it. So very scary stuff. Downtime is often more damaging than the ransom itself. Like I said, the downtime per day could equal more than what they're asking for, right? And they will ask for money. If you get ransomware, they are all about the money. That's what they want. They don't really care. They might care about the data, but they really won't.
Yeah, I ask you this. Is there some geographic market, either nationally or internationally? Or maybe most of this ransomware is coming from?
A lot of it's overseas.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the exact countries, but it's most of it is overseas. Yeah. So like I said, downtime is often more damaging than the ransom itself because the downtime per day adds up exponentially as you're down. And backups are the difference between recovery and disaster. Are you guys backing up your data, right? Super important to have your data backed up. If you're not backing up your data right now, please call IEQ and we'll talk to you about it. And so what I mean by backing up your data is you want your data isolated and offsite also, and we'll get into data backups in a couple slides from now. So passwords and account takeover. Nicole touched on this as well. Stolen credentials are sold. They're not even only used by them, but they go on the black market and they sell them. So now instead of one person having it, anybody can buy your credentials, right? Business email compromise. MFA blocks most attacks. MFA being multi-factor authentication, where you get a code sent to you, or you click an approve button that's sent to you. You normally on your phone, right? They get your password, they put it in, they don't have your phone. That's the multi-factor part. That's the second factor is they don't have your phone, so they can't successfully get in. MFA is huge. We'd like you to use MFA wherever you can with any vendors that offer it. Any of your systems offer it, turn it on and use it. Let's see here. Password. So password reuse leads to account compromise. It's a domino effect. If they get your password, one compromised password can gain access to other systems, right? So you use one password across all your systems. They steal your email password. Now they can get into your network. They open up another app, same password. They're like, yay, same password. They put it in, they're into that. So it's a domino effect. As one can gain access to others. Use a password manager, like Nicole mentioned. If you're not using a password manager, definitely put one in place.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So what, I've always wondered, what if someone gets into your password manager, then they have all your passwords, what?
That is true. That's the rub, right? So the password to your password manager should be very complex. I'm talking 20 digits, 24 digits with four different types of characters, special characters. It's hard. You definitely want to keep your password manager database on your network. So like on a network share somewhere, like on a server somewhere, and then you give everybody access. They install the password manager on their machine. That password manager points to the password database on the server, and that's where everything's listed. So there's
not like an additional security.
There's not an additional, yeah, I mean, it's good to have it all in there. But it's hard, it's hard to say. We'll go back to that at the end. And like I said, enable MFA everywhere you can. So vendor and technology risks. So cloud and IT vendors are part of your risk profile. Like I just said, any of your software that you use, they are part of your risk profile. So when you're picking vendors, make sure you vet them as best you can. Research them, research their reputation, their history. Have they ever been ransomware before? Do they have a good reputation in the community? So the responsibility is shared between you and the vendor. It's not transferred once you send your data to a vendor, right? Maybe for backups, you back up to the cloud. You don't transfer that risk to them. You are still at risk. So ask your vendors about their security practices. To repeat, vendor assessment before adoption is crucial. Don't just sign up for the cheapest or the most convenient option and investigate their security practices. Do they encrypt their data at rest and in transit? So that means if you send them their data, is it encrypted on their servers? And in transit means when it's being sent to their servers, is it also encrypted when it's flying through the air over the internet? Do they conduct regular security audits? Have they ever been breached before? These are some of the kind of questions you can ask them. How did they handle it? It goes back to their reputation and vetting, right? So what certifications do they hold? If they're a financial company, do they hold certifications as far as their security practices? So for critical systems like payroll and finance, the due diligence is essential. Investigate your contracts and limit vendor permissions to a minimum. So if vendors need to get into your systems on site at your location, don't just give them complete access. Ask them what they need, give them the most minimum rights that they can have. And again, you still own the risk, even when you're partnering with vendors. So your first defense is the people and the people you work with, right? Your employees. So employees are both the greatest risk and the greatest defense at the same time. We like to just slow down, right? Encourage slowing down, especially when you're verifying requests that involve money. So verify your financial requests, encourage reporting concerns. So we want to create a culture that there's no blame, right? If somebody sees something or they did something wrong, we don't want them to feel like they can't come forward to a manager and let them know. So a no blame culture is really important for a company when it comes to this kind of stuff. And like I said, hover over your links, verify your payment requests by phone, use a password manager. And you should also do monthly security training. If you guys don't do that for your teams, maybe assign somebody to, maybe just they can go out to, Chat GPT or something and say, please write me like a weekly test for my employees or a monthly test, right? So we wanted to keep continual education with our employees. So monthly security training could have different topics month, really important. And it just keeps it kind of forefront in your mind. So create a culture where reporting is encouraged and not punished. People are the key. Passwords and MFA, unique passwords everywhere, right? Every app you use, different password. It's not your dog's name and your birthday every time, right? And enable MFA for key systems. We can't stress that enough. If they get one password, they get them all. If you have the same password, access to everything. So enable MFA for email, banking, and payroll. Those are huge. Now we're going to get into backups a bit. So backups save businesses. You want your storage to be secure and you want to test, recover regularly. You can back up all day long to the cloud, to somewhere off site. But if you've never tested restoring that data to see if all your systems work, how good is your backup, right? So, and I've heard a lot of places where they've never, sometimes they never tested their backups. Super crucial to test your backups. It's not the most fun thing to do because it's hard during working hours to kind of just stop everything and flip over, but you need to schedule a test maybe on a weekend or something. It's very important. So when we talk about backups, we talk about the 3-2-1 concept. So you have 3 copies of your data on 2 different types of media, either maybe a hard drive or a USB key in the cloud, right? Cloud's just another fancy name for internet, right? Cloud services, it just means it's on somebody else's servers. It's not on your servers. That's what cloud means. So 3 copies of your data, 2 different types of storage, hard drive, cloud, USB. Maybe you have tape backup still, which you don't see very often anymore, but we used to put tapes in and send them off-site, put them in little bags every day. Not so much anymore, but they should be automatic and secure also. And like I said, test your restores. So the 3, 2, 1, 3 copies of data, 2 different types of media, and 1 being off-site backup. Off-site backup is probably the most important part. If there's a disaster at your building, say you have one rooftop and that building burns down, your backups burn down too. So having an off-site backup is key.
And cloud counts as offsite.
Second,
Cloud counts as offsite backup.
cloud is off-site. So a real world example. So imagine you use cloud accounting software for your business. One day you discover that critical financial records from the past year have been deleted. Maybe an employee made a mistake, maybe it was a technical glitch, maybe your account was compromised. You contact the cloud provider, they only keep deleted files for 30 days. And this employee tells you they did this 2 months ago. So without a separate backup of your data, years of financial records are permanently gone, potentially creating legal, tax, and operational disasters. So something to think about. Try not to scare you guys. Everything's fine. Everything's great. All right, keep systems updated. This is pretty. Everybody knows they need to keep their systems updated. So security updates, fix known vulnerabilities, vulnerabilities or new vulnerabilities, I should say, are coming out all the time. That's why Microsoft sends patches to you every couple of days, or every day, I should say. Windows updates, make sure those are turned on if you're running Microsoft. App updates also are important, and firmware updates, believe it or not. Firmware update is just an update for hardware, right? Not software. Firmware would be updating hardware. And firmware can get hacked as well. Unsupported systems are a major risk, and someone in your company must own the patching responsibility. So who's in charge of making sure your systems are updated? Maybe designate somebody if there isn't somebody at your company. I think that's a really smart thing to do and important. What do we have here? Replace unsupported systems and secure remote. Right, let's go to the next slide. Prevent fraud. So this is kind of what Nicole is touching on. Never approve financial charges solely via email. Like she said, make a phone call, require verbal verification, and limit administrative access as much as you can. And that's across the board. Any of your software or programs that you guys use, always limit the access for your employees. You know, don't always just say, oh, well, she probably might do, or he probably might do this. You might do everything in there, so we'll just give them full control. Probably not the best approach. Find out what they need to do in that software, and if you can lock it down to a minimum role, do that. So, looking back, the top 5 things to do now. Enable MFA, like we said, everywhere you can. Use strong passwords, use different passwords. Put those different passwords in a password manager. Hope that password manager does not get hacked. Train your team, like we've talked about on various things. Maintain your backups, test your backups, and keep your systems updated. Those 5 things right there alone will secure your company to a good degree. All right, here's a real world banking example. I think you might want to hear. It's called a $52,000 email. A small marketing agency received an email that appeared to be from their longtime web hosting vendor, meaning they host their website, saying that they'd switched banks and provided new payment details. The email looked legitimate. Correct logo, professional language, even referenced their account number and their name. The office manager updated the banking info in the system and paid the next invoice for 52 grand without verifying the change by phone. 3 days later, the real vendor called asking where their payment was. That's when they realized the email was fake. The $52,000 was gone, already transferred overseas and untraceable. what went wrong in this situation, right? The attackers had researched the company. Like she said, a lot of times they know you, they've been researching you. They know your job, they know where your company is. A lot of times they even know the way that you type messages. So let's see here. So the attackers had researched the company online, knew who their vendors were, and sent a convincing fake email to at the right time. They knew exactly when those checks would be coming in. The office manager followed normal procedure for updating vendor information, but skipped the verification call. What would have stopped that from happening? One phone call, right? One phone call to the vendor's known number to confirm the banking change would have immediately exposed the fraud. And there are things like that happening every day, probably happening right now. So the key takeaways is cyber risk is a business risk. As a small business owner, you don't need to become a cybersecurity professional or expert, but you need to understand the fundamentals and know what you can do to help your company out as best you can to protect your business. It's a business risk. Small businesses are common targets, unfortunately. It's not just the big guys anymore. So focus on those basics and they work and they will give you a better stance on your security posture there. And that is the end of this presentation. So those are two that I put up there because I feel like they're the most important probably right now for this group. Is use MFA everywhere you can and you back up your data and restore your data to test it. And then also, is your data offsite? Those three things will get you secure. Any questions on all this? I know it's a lot. Yeah.
I'm an Apple user almost predominantly, and I store or back up almost everything to the cloud. But my website is Microsoft based, and so I have Microsoft 365 for Office and all the rest of that, including Outlook is where my emails come to. If that is compromised, would whoever hacked into it also have access to my cloud storage?
You're saying if they hack your cloud storage?
Well, if they hack my email, for instance,
Right.
would they, if I, whatever, however they do it, I
Yeah.
obviously am clueless, but.
It's hard to say exactly if they would, but it's definitely a possibility. That's kind of where the passwords come into play, having different passwords, having MFA. But it's really hard to say how savvy they are, basically. But if you have more questions, definitely call IEQ and we can talk to you more about it over the phone.
In the interest of time, the best thing that we can do to address risk is to eliminate it. And so some has taken a lot of steps to start footprint. You touched on a few things, right? Can you give us one or two things that you recommend folks to look at to just reducing their footprint to the outside world in their networks?
Reducing their footprint, do you mean people like VPNing out, or what do you mean?
So we have systems that are intentionally set aside and the larger network doesn't have access to those. They're
Walled off, yeah.
They're walled off, isolated systems. So that's just one example. There's other ones too.
Mm-hmm. And so what are you asking exactly?
Do you have examples about how people in small businesses have implemented those steps where they've just eliminated the risk by isolating certain systems from the rest of the network?
Yeah, I don't have any examples as far as small businesses, but what you're doing as far as walling off, it's kind of like what we talked about, having the least amount of admin rights, right? You want to wall off like you're doing everything that you can, if you can. So not everybody has access to the same things. So it sounds like you're doing a good job with that, but we can talk afterwards as well too. Okay. Sorry, that's probably not the best answer.
Well, I'll just follow up real quick.
Yeah.
We've seen some tunneling happening with vendors that have permissions to read our information as well as write to our systems. And so looking at the permissions by looking at maybe they could read, but we could remove their permissions to write.
Right, yeah, exactly. So if they're tunneling in, like that's what we talked about, make sure that they have the least amount of privileges needed. If they don't need to write, then they definitely should not have write, like you said. If they're just reading data, then minimizing the permissions, like you said, is the best way to go.
I have a question maybe for
Yeah.
both the presenters in thinking about the check writing. Some of our customers, my husband's business, want to do Venmo or Apple Pay. What are the risks on that?
Oh, gosh, that's a good question. I've normally just worked at larger companies, so I would say the risk with a business is the same as a risk with a personal account, right? I don't know if there's ways to like put a second layer on those Venmo or PayPal accounts, but I can look into that for you as well.
The other thing is you are putting your deposit account information in there, so similar to like wire account, if you really want to protect that, you can have your, I mean, we always call them wire accounts, because that's what most of our customers, but you can have an account that is, you know, you tie it to your Venmo and your Zelle, your Cash App, and PayPal. And so that's the account where all those transactions go to, and then you manually sweep it over. So that way, if somebody hacks your Venmo and tries to pay from your Venmo account, there's no money in the attached depository account. And then, you know, hopefully Venmo never gets attacked themselves and leaks all the customer information. I attended a class in grad school about cybersecurity in banking. And my understanding is that the ransomware bad actors are actually running a business. Like on the dark web, they have advertisements for employment, just like we have. And they know that if you pay a ransom and they don't encrypt the information, that people will stop paying the ransoms. So they really do run a good business. So if Venmo were to get hacked, your account information is probably still okay, because they know that if they leave all that information out, then nobody will pay ransoms anymore. But that is one way you can kind of protect your banking.
Nice.
They're very ethical.
Yeah.
They're ethical. We'll send a survey saying, how did we do on our customer service after ransomware?
So thank you for jumping in, Nicole. So just to reiterate what she said, and the question was, is there a way to lock it down? It's kind of like having that middle account like Nicole was talking about before. Don't have the Venmo account that is attached to your main account. That's basically what you're saying, right?
Yeah, like don't attach it to your main operating account
There you
where all your money is at risk.
That's the right answer. Thank you.
Okay, we are at time, but I'm hoping our speakers can stick around and you guys can chat with them for a couple minutes after this, but let me just, Marques, thank you so much.
Yes, of course.
Okay, well, I know that was a lot and it's a really heavy topic, but how many folks are gonna go back home or back to their businesses and actually like look into something or implement something that you heard here today? Yeah. So thank you, Nicole and Marques, for sharing your insights around this. I know it's a big threat to the business community, especially a small business community. So thank you for being here. Another note, on the Small Business Hub web page, which we'll send a link out to you.
Which we will hover over.
Which we may this program is being recorded. You can find this program on that Small Business Solutions Hub website. There is another Small Business Solutions Hub sponsor, Ask Eric Computers, and he actually does talk to him about helping companies test employees. So if that is something you're interested in, go ahead and reach out to him. You'll also find this survey on your table. If you have ideas for future topics that you'd like us to consider finding speakers for and hosting here, please fill that out or just reach out to Marianne at any time and tell us what you want. Another note, next week we do have another program coming up, not a Small Business Solutions Hub, a roundtable program right here at the Chamber. If you guys are interested in hearing from the State Chamber lobbyist on some of the upcoming issues in Salem during the 2026 session. It's gonna be a fun afternoon for us. So hope to see you back here and we'll send some information out about that one as well. Thank you all for being here today.
Coin wallets on your table, you feel free to take one branch.
It's a pleasure.